You have a strong mind and a set will, and you think you understand your own case better than others can because you trace your feelings. You are guided by your feelings and are governed by your experience. Now, at this point, many might think, well, what's wrong with that? Why is Ellen White even having a problem with this? But I want you to realize, as individuals who profess the inspiration of Ellen White, I want you to realize that Ellen White, in this testimony, is expressing a problem in principle with someone thinking that they understand their own case better than others and being guided by their own experience and their feelings. When it comes to health, many people want to say, well, I know my body. I know because I've experienced it. As we will see as we progress through this testimony, that is precisely the mindset which Sister N had. Sister W, on the other hand, was called to give Sister N a reproof, a rebuke, a correction to that mindset. Ellen White is saying, no, we should not consider our own experience reliable and think that we understand our case better than others can. Obviously, since Ellen White is objecting to the idea that we can understand our case better than others can, it automatically implies that there may be somebody who understands your case better than you do. Well, we might not like that. That may grind against our emotions and against our own preferences and biases. It may make us feel insecure. It's a secure feeling to think that we are the best judge of our own case. And we don't like being told that there may very well be others who can know our case better than we can. Health, as an example, really shows the point. You may have someone who believes that they know what they're doing with their health, but who really doesn't, and there may be people who are simply more knowledgeable in regard to the operations of the human body and the chemical interactions which take place by putting certain substances into it or by doing certain things with the body overall or some particular part of the body. So we all, in order to really be in harmony with material reality, we all need to be of the mindset that there may be someone who knows more about our own case in regard to health and in regard to other things than we do. There may be someone who really knows more, and we may need to be corrected. There may be someone who is more knowledgeable about health and physical law related to the body, who might be able to say, hey, look, experimentally, this is the case. We know this by means of experiment. And while you have your own philosophy in regard to health, it is not experimentally verified. Therefore, here's what the experiment says to do. And we need to be willing to go with the experiment. I'll give an example, actually, that is in the Silver Trumpet. And I'm mentioning this for the principle, and I really want you guys to understand the principle. And if the example that I'm going to use raises your defenses, then that is your cue to realize that that's a subject upon which you have a bias, and that it's time to really try and understand the principles and to not try and raise your defenses, but to just try and follow the truth. So the example that I'll give is vaccination. Many people have opinions regarding vaccination that are predominantly informed by their political views rather than some sort of experimental knowledge regarding vaccinations. So we should all be of the mindset that even if we have been accustomed to being against vaccination, we need to be of the mindset that we won't have our own preference or our own experience. Perhaps we ourselves had a bad experience with vaccinations or someone else did. We need to be of the mindset that we will not consider our experiences or the stories we have heard from others as being reliable. Why? Because, as the title of the testimony says, experience not reliable. And as Ellen White will get into, what is needed to have genuine knowledge is rigorous scientific experiment. And no matter how much we may have strong feelings, and no matter how much we may base those feelings upon our experience or the experience of others, if someone could come to us and present us with scientific experimental data which showed that our view on vaccination is incorrect, then we need to accept what that scientific experimental data says and discard our own ideas and preferences based on our so-called experience or our feelings. Because again, listen to what Ellen White says here. You have a strong mind and set will, and you think you understand your own case better than others can because you trace your feelings. You are guided by your feelings and are governed by your experience. Again, Ellen White is rebuking this woman for this. So we may do that in regard to vaccination or some other thing related to another aspect of health or in regard to something else. But notice, we need to be people who do not just rely on our own experience. And in fact, we all know that this is not a reliable means of arriving at truth because we recognize that other people have false experiences. We realize that there are people out there who believe that they are being healed by using spiritualistic methods. We realize that there are people out there who go to faith healers and who actually experience a huge relief of their pain or their condition reverses or whatever. And even those faith healers may be proven to be frauds, and yet people will still cling to their experience. So my point is, whether it's something which you recognize as fraudulent or spiritualistic or not, the method, the way of approaching how to come to a conclusion is what is most important. And if you are basing your views upon experience, upon your personal experience and your own views, rather than on scientific experimental data, then you need to realize that your perspectives are no better, no more valid than the person who is believing their faith healer. The person who is thinking that they just had an experience where their deceased loved one visited them. Or the person who is using some other sort of spiritualistic means to improve their perception of their own health.